Konnichiwa. This lesson introduces counting. It is based on page 136 of Genki. So, one day, a native Japanese speaker might come up to you and say, "What on earth is going on with expressing nationalities in the English language?" Okay, so people from China are Chinese, and people from Japan are Japanese. So people from Korea must be Koreanese. Okay, then people from Greece must be Grecian, and people from Spain are Spanish, so people from France must be Franish. Ah, it's so much easier in Japanese. You just take the name of the country and add jin. And when your Japanese friend tells you that, you will say, "Well, what about counting in Japanese?" So this is an introduction to counting in Japanese. We'll revisit counting in Japanese again and again, so don't feel the need to master counting in one sitting. Here are the three things you need to know about counting in Japanese. Ichiban. To reiterate, learning to count in Japanese is a lifelong lesson. Niban. In Japanese, number words often come after rather than before the item that is being counted in a sentence. So, rather than Lee bought 3 stamps, in Japanese, we say, Lee-san wa kite o 3枚買いました. Translated literally, this is Lee stamps 3 bought, which is a Japanese style subject-object-verb sentence with the number after rather than before the object. 3番. Japanese numbers almost always have counters, a kind of suffix that tells us what kind of object is being counted. These counters, or number words, vary depending on the kind of object being counted. Moreover, certain counters lead to sound changes, which obligate us to pronounce the number differently according to the rules of its counter. So, take the previous sentence. The sammai here is the number sang, or 3, with the counter mai, which is the counter for sheets of paper and flat objects. Because we are buying 3 stamps, we use the counter mai. But if we were buying something else, say 3 pencils, we couldn't use the counter mai, because pencils aren't flat objects. We would need the counter hon, which is the counter for stick-like or long cylindrical objects. Moreover, with hon, there is a sound change when hon is attached to the number 3. So we would say 3本, which gives us リーさんは鉛筆を3本買いました. For Lee bought 3 pencils. Be warned, Japanese has counters for everything. You might think of units of measurement as a kind of analogy. Just as 3 wouldn't make sense as a measurement, you would need to say 3 inches, or 3 pounds, or 3 degrees Celsius, depending on what you are measuring. The number 3 without a counter wouldn't make sense in Japanese. You would have to say 3 people, or 3 winged animals, or 3 explosions, or 3 plus the counter for the kind of object you would like to count. You can see pages 380 and 381 of Genki for a list of frequently used counters. We already know a few counters actually, like the counter for years of age, the counter for hours, and the counter for pages. You'll learn more counters as your Japanese studies progress. Make sure you memorize the pronunciation rules whenever you encounter a new counter. And if you don't know the counter for something, you can use the counter for small objects in years of age, hitotsu, futatsu, mitsu, etc., as a kind of catch-all counter placeholder. You should know, however, that using this catch-all counter will make you sound like a little kid in Japanese. This lesson serves as an introduction to Japanese counters. 日本語のカウンターは難しいですが、頑張ってカウンターを勉強しましょう。